So there's always one question you need to ask before you start pricing work for anyone. So over there, I had a really nice message from a family friend who wanted something making. Wasn't asking for mates rates or anything like that. Said what he wanted. It was a serving board, a nice piece of wood with an engraving carved around it for a wedding. It's a lovely little project. And automatically, I start to cost these things up in my head. So you've got the price in the wood, you've got the price in your time to collect the wood, unless you happen to have it. But even then, you know, these kind of things need budgeting for, often have waste on materials. So it's not just that piece of board that you're paying for, often it has to come from a bigger piece that you're gonna have to cut up. And it's not like I carry a stock of that type of thing around with me. You've got to price up, planing the wood down, cutting it to shape. Then if you've planed it, you've got to sand it. You've probably got to work up for the grit, so it's going to be a nice serving board. So you've got to probably sand it 3 or 4 times. We've also got to put the carving on it. That's a few hours to hand carve a carving on something like that. You've got to price your time, £30 plus an hour for workshop work. So it's quite interesting thinking about these different things. Before I started putting this down on paper, I realised that I'd made the worst mistake really. I needed to ask one question to that customer to see if we were in any way aligned, is to ask the budget. It's something I hate doing, it's something I hate giving when I'm a customer, but it kind of sets up where we're kind of looking and if it's even a possibility, if it's even worth my thought process of looking into that. Now, obviously there's a lot of things out there, these serving boards that are done on a bigger scale and not handmade, not bespoke, and not hand carved. So I know I'm going to be the higher end of what these things cost. But when I asked, it was a £50 budget. I knew there and then that even with a slight increase and talking about it, we weren't going to align on our ideas of what it was going to be. So it wasn't worth me going any further with that. Told them that they're probably better off looking on Etsy for someone that does it with a CNC machine or similar and could go that way. But it wasn't something I was going to be able to provide for that kind of money. When you think the piece of wood was probably going to be about 30 quid, it doesn't leave much time for me to do anything with it with the remaining £20. So, you know, and I appreciate they came to me. I think it's great that people are looking to use local craftsmen and women more. But obviously we've got realistic expectations of what things cost and, you know, of what I should earn as a craftsman, you know, kind of what should my wage be. I know everyone wants everything cheap as chips and we can't compare what I can make to what we can buy in the store. When I used to do a lot of wardrobes and things like that, I used to say to people, now, before I price this up, can you buy it off the shelf? Because if you can buy it off the shelf, it's going to be cheaper than I can make it. And for some reason, people get into their heads that sometimes someone making something one-off can be cheaper. It's not very often the case. So I straight off the bat, can it be bought off the shelf? If it can, buy it off the shelf. It's far better than wasting my time to do something like that. Because pricing stuff up takes a lot of time. You have to get prices for timber. Timber's changing kind of all the time. It's got a lot more expensive lately. You know, you have to kind of figure out how long stuff's going to take. It's not as easy as you think, especially if it's not something you build all the time. So although this is a question I hate being asked myself, if I'm buying anything, I hate being asked what's my budget. I always want it, you know, people think they're not going to get it as cheap if they say a too high a price, but it's about aligning our expectations. So if you're a crafts person, ask that question first. Ask them what their budget is, and then you can look at it whether it's kind of within your realm to provide that service for that money. Something I wish I'd started doing a long time ago was just asking the budget and seeing where we can go from there. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.